at Chinese restaurants, the soy sauce is nothing like the soy sauce that you would get if you just got some Kiko man and poured it on there. The duck sauce, I don't know what that is. It looks like something that you would put on a cream cheese and jelly
I
sandwich.
like it, but you're right. It's usually very bright orange. Like I don't
Very
think
weird.
when you go there, it doesn't look like that.
Never.
It's like an orange. Like, why is it so orange? It's like neon.
And the biggest fraud this side of Sam Bankman-Fried is Chinese mustard in a package. I don't even know what that is. You'd be better off. I would rather put Goulden's mustard, which I love, but on fried rice, it's not necessarily the kind of condiment that you would want to employ there. I would much rather put that on there than the stuff that comes out of the packages. So the issue was if you ask for the house mustard, which is great. I mean, it really is. It not a perfect compliment, Lubie? I don't know how you feel about it.
I didn't grow up with the house mustard. So
I love that rush that you get when you get, some of it sticks to the spoon as you're stirring it in there. And then, you take that one bite when you're just like, okay, I'm going to grab a bite here before I even sit down and start eating this stuff. And then, boom, all of a sudden your head explodes. You have ideas that come to you that you've never, ever conceived of before. Beautiful women flash before your eyes. And then you go, wow, I still have this whole bowl of fried rice. It just makes the dish.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning. A Degenerate Friday about to get underway. Rapid fire version of Degenerate Friday. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubitz. Very happy to have you guys with us here as we wrap up what has been an extremely interesting week for us. Laced with a variety of frustrations, but nonetheless, do you feel like we made progress this week, Mike Lubitz? We certainly had a good time, and that included what was our first full week on the Tony Bruno Sports Network, which it's coming along. It's coming along. I mean, we've had some good moments. So we certainly had some great guests this week. I don't know that you were able to catch the gist of all of the interviews that we had because some of them came out a little bit garbled, and we certainly have been struggling with the structure that is underneath the foundation of the working parameters on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. Very difficult with an app. I was talking with a good friend of mine who started an apps business many years ago before it was even a popular thing. And he told me, I didn't even realize, I didn't even know I knew this guy this long. And he told me he sold that business 8 years ago. I called my buddy Sean Mack and said, hey, can you help us out here? I think the Bruno Sports Network needs some kind of technical consultation. And it would be great if it came from somebody that was a pioneer in this industry. And he told me, and it wasn't particularly good news, Mike Lubitz, he told me that you are never finished building an app.
No, you're not.
That because the technology keeps changing almost by the minute, it's impossible to catch up and actually have all of your oars in the water, so to speak. And that makes it a very difficult business, which is one of the reasons why this guy's filthy rich and he sold out years ago. Because he's not inclined to get involved in something that's losing money, and neither is this guy, our first guest on the program. I didn't realize how hot this man was. I mean, I knew he was hot in terms of a social entity, right? Anytime you're with this guy, I mean, no one else is recognized. It's usually, hey, Greek, hey, who knows 2 slugs you're with? Oh, that's Defo and Lubie. Been on the air for 50 years down here. Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I thought I heard of him. What does he do? He does the news? What does this guy do? But the Greek is on fire, not only in his own contest, which is legendary, and we saw his buddy Buddha this past week at Burton Max's, and he said the very same thing. He said, I don't know how this guy is doing it, but he's untouchable. He's all Elliot-ness. We welcome to the program our Degenerate Friday's first guest, the Greek, who Lubie just informed me on the show is 28-15-1, including a 4-1 banner week last week. Greek, how are you, my friend? What are you doing with all the money?
I'm getting ready for the holidays. We're giving away turkeys. That's a big thing that we're doing. Something I like to do every year in produce.
Yeah.
But, just enjoying and, having a good season so far. It's not over. It's like everything in life. Nobody remembers the beginning, just the end. So you got the bowl games and you got the playoffs and the Super Bowl. You always want to get those games right. But it's been a good season. I think the NFL starting to shake out a little. For most bettors, it's very hard for them to bet unders. But that is the big trend in the NFL.
Yes.
The unders. Last week, my buddy was in Vegas, and the lowest under in college football was Northwestern at 28, and the highest one was Oregon at 76. So I said to him, I go, bet $1,000 parlay. The under.
Oh, Jesus.
He goes, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Yes, I'm crazy." And it hit. Iowa,
Oh, shit.
Northwestern was 17-10, and
Yes.
Oregon played USC, and they were a pinball machine. They had
That was like
90.
100 points. Yeah.
Washington, USC.
Yeah, Washington. So, I mean, I think you look at a lot of different things. At the end of the day, you got to be lucky. Last night's game was like sitting down with a meeting with iHeart management. It was brutal.
Maybe worse. Yeah.
I was gonna say it might be worse than that.
That was when the henchman came over to introduce Bob Pittman. It was that moment when you realized, okay, I'm just going to have to bite my tongue here, say nothing, and applaud every time this guy mentions something that we know to be completely a falsehood.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. But,
Yeah. That had to be an under. I mean, what was the total on that game? That game, they couldn't have really made too big of a number.
No, 37. I mean, it's
37.
Low. They're all low. Yeah, the NFL is down in scoring this year for the first time in like, I don't know, 18, 19 years. And I think a lot of that has to do with the young quarterback and the injuries. You just look at the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, the biggest one, and you got Zach Wilson. And, Zach Wilson's probably in more trouble right now than Robert De Niro, who had to pay his ex-assistant $1.2 million yesterday.
That was pretty steep for just getting a couple of back scratches by this woman. Didn't you think? $1.2 million, that's $600,000 every time she scratches back.
Yeah, I think with that case, and again, just an insight, I like you look at it. I don't think anybody, a celebrity, a ball player, a politician, could get a fair trial. Because I think when they look at these guys or women, either they like them or they don't. It's pretty much, up and down. And they know the person's got a lot of money. You know what I mean? I would have gave her some money. I wouldn't have gave her $1.2 million. But
she was making $300,000 a year in the job. So she was being paid very generously.
Yeah. And, but see, that's today's times, though. Nobody wants to any rip with a job. Everybody wants to come, kumbaya. Are you okay? Did I say it in the wrong way? Are you all right? Oh, you need a day off. You don't have to tell me. It's a different generation. I mean, it really is. I mean, our generation, it's just different. Like, you never told your boss, like, I'm not coming in tomorrow because I got another job. I can make more money.
I was always afraid not to show up. That was part of my work ethic throughout my lifetime. I'm always afraid not to show up.
It's
especially in this business.
Yeah, but I just think. Yeah, I think it's great that you did that, but I just think a lot of people today, it's a different scenario, and I don't know. I think cases like that should be capped. It's like just like when somebody sues a city or a state, they're capped. You can only get in a certain amount.
Yes.
And De Niro, I don't know. He's been a little political the last couple of years.
He's a little whacked. You would think. I mean, plus, you know what? When he had to do that movie Grudge Match to pay off one of his exes.
Yeah.
What a disgrace, Greek. You would never stoop that low. I mean, no matter what, you would not. I mean, here's a great actor, and he's in one of the worst movies of all time. So, yeah, I mean, look, we all do what we have to do.
Yeah. He gets jacked up. He's married 4 or 5 times. Kids all over the place. I mean, you keep things in your pants like your cash and your toy, you'd probably save a lot of money.
Honestly.
Well, I was going to say for $1.2 million, I don't know what lengths I would go to satisfy Robert De Niro, but I would even take into consideration maybe I would stop there and having him unzip his fly, but certainly I'd scratch his back for like $600,000 a year. That seemed like a very generous settlement. That
now you're going to see every ex-assistant and everybody out there with different things or pop up.
Yeah.
Stuff that, whatever. I mean, she won, God bless her. I mean, who knows? Who knows what the future holds for anybody. It's a weird case. I thought the whole thing was weird, but not good for De Niro. Not such a good fellow.
Well, I mean, he's in his 80s, so, by the time he contests the settlement amount and appeals and does all this stuff, he'll probably be in his grave, so it really won't matter too much to him if she ever eventually gets her hands on the cash.
It's like Pacino's another one. He has a kid at 80. He's got to pay the girl $30,000 a month.
Yes.
Really? I mean, like you think of these guys. Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
It's going to be Dog Day Afternoon 2 coming up.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, definitely. When he walked
Exactly.
out of court, it was dog day afternoon too. All right,
Yeah.
let's go with some college football.
Let's get into some picks here. The Greek, 28-15-1, 4-1 last week. The man is on fire. So go ahead, lay it out for us, my friend.
We're going to go with all the chalk tomorrow. I cannot see how LSU does not blow out the Gators. So I'll lay to 14 with them. Same thing with Florida State over the Canes. I mean, the Canes just are not a good team. And I know they got 6 wins, thank God, but it's not a good team. And I think Michigan slams Penn State -4. Those are your 3 college. And your 1 pro team is the Ravens, the hottest team in football right now with the Jaguars. Those are the 4 picks. Mentions, I would look at 2 things. I would look at the Jaguars with the Niners. Because you hear everybody say, the Niners can't lose 2 in a row, they can't lose 3 in a row, and now I hear this week they can't lose 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So, giving the Jags 3 points, and Samuel's still out.
Oh,
I don't know. That's the game. I didn't want to give out, but I would lean Jaguars. And a team that made us a ton of money got off the gate the other day, FAU Owls, and they covered the first night, 75-62. Watch the FAU Owls. They could hoop you to the bank again.
FAU hoops. All right, dabbling in a little basketball. I'm with you. This may be a discouraging factor. I was looking at Jags as a home dog, +3 over the 49ers, who gave the illusion that they were the best team in the NFL, and maybe through the first 5 weeks they were. No Deebo Samuel. I would imagine his agent is on the phone calling the 49ers front office every day and saying, you see what this guy's worth? It's not McCaffrey. It's Samuel.
No, Samuel's a big deal. I mean, that changes everything.
Yeah, he's huge. He's not a household name for a lot of people unless you really follow football. But also their tackle Williams is out. I mean, that's another big thing. They got a couple guys on defense out. They're not a lot of household names, but it adds up. And also, the quarterback has thrown a lot of picks the last couple of weeks. And
Jags the best team against the spread in the AFC right now. 6-2. Jags.
Oh.
The Jaguars best team against the spread.
Yeah, they start off 0-2. I mean, a home dog, you usually bet them. But it's not a pick. It's something to lean, I would say.
Lean on me. Very good, my friend.
I would do it. And then the sports betting, everybody's excited about that at the Hard Rock.
And what's happening is the app going to be open to everybody, Greek? What are you hearing?
Well, the app is open right now for people who were with them in 2020. And then there's a waiting list if you want to bet on the app that they'll put you on, and eventually you'll get on.
Okay.
So
have you signed up, or do you get an honorary membership no matter what? Plus, a couple of G's fielding the account.
No, I did not sign up. I did not sign up.
Isn't it dangerous having a bookie in your pocket, though? Think about the concept here.
Well, don't you have a bookie in your pocket your whole life? You just did. I mean, you just want
No. Lipschitz had me in his pocket my whole life.
You got to remember, the thing with the app is it's different than the track. And I did text you this a couple of weeks ago because we were going back and forth with people on my show.
Yeah.
The app, $600, you got a $10.99. So if you went over $600, you got a $10.99.
Oh, okay. You have to pay on the sports wagering? Wow.
Not at the track. Now, the track, if I put in a bet, right, and you and I were speaking about this because people were asking me, a horse, I don't know, pays $100, and I put 100 on, I win 1,000. I don't pay any tax on that, correct?
No. The laws have changed there. I mean, they're so archaic anyway. I mean, they shouldn't be paying tax on gambling winnings because they do allow you at the end of the year to write off an equal amount of losses. I don't know. I mean, guys used to save tickets all day, and you'd see guys stooping for tickets because they were trying to collect as many losing tickets as they could in case they got audited. But my son, being an accountant, says the IRS doesn't audit you anymore. So you don't need to have all of these receipts. They just tell you that you owe them money, and they leave it to you to argue it.
Yeah.
If they see a discrepancy there. But I don't think they would contest it if you won like the Mustang had an 11,000 slot hit in 2022, which sometime in the next 6 months I'll address those taxes from 2 years ago. But and she had to sign for it. So now you just claim that you lost 11,000, and I don't think they'll ever ask you for any documentation on that.
So was that a check?
Yeah, they wrote a check out. No, I mean, she had to sign a tax form. And anything over 1,200 on a slot machine, you have to sign for.
Oh, you do.
Yes.
But at the track, you can win no matter what, and then they just pay out.
It used to be anything over, like if a bet paid $600 for $2 wager, you had to sign a form. It was called a signer, and then it changed so that they broke it down. It has to be 300 to 1 against the amount of money that you wagered on that ticket. So in other words, let's say you hit for 10,000 on some sequence ticket, like a pick 5. If you had bet, whatever, $30 or $40 on that ticket, you don't have to sign for the tax because it wouldn't be whatever. I'm not doing the math that quickly in my head, but whatever it was, the ratio still had to be 300 to 1. And so if you had bet $10, you were clear up to 3,000. So and that was just a sign. It's awful. I mean, what's up?
No, but I'm saying, say you're in a casino, right? And you're
Yes.
playing roulette, and you back out a number, $100, 32, hits for 3,200. You just go over with the chips, and they give it to you.
You don't have to sign for that, but on a machine, you do.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. But and it was the same thing, with the bets at the track, because they never took into account the fact that on other tickets, you may have bet more than that one ticket and lost 300. And actually lost money to the race, and you were still having to be accountable for the tax, which is ridiculous. But that's the way it is. I mean, they figure you're a sucker anyway if you're in there betting. So the government, look, this is a system where you pay taxes on the money you earn, you pay taxes on everything that you buy, and then you pay taxes on everything that you own. And even if you end up inheriting some money from somebody that passed away, happen to have a little bit of guilt, you may end up paying taxes on that as well. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. My friend, we love you. Good luck. You're on fire. You're our top handicapper so far of the people we feature on the show. And that's saying a lot because we have some very good people, Mark Lawrence and the professor. And they both are having decent seasons. But you're on fire, my friend. On fire. So thanks so much for joining us. What are you doing this weekend, Greek? Anything special? You're giving out turkeys? You're like Don King or Denzel Washington, an American gangster.
No, we're giving out turkeys in 2 weeks, the 21st. I got a big Gator event when they're playing LSU. And that's it, bang around Boca for a while, get dinner with my friends. Nothing crazy.
All right, very good.
Just stay hot. And Buddha said you guys were a lot of fun the other day.
You're a great American, my friend. Thank you so much for being with us. The Greek, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty impressive. 28, 15, and 1. And he's running that contest at that cigar bar that he hangs out in Boca. And I believe he was like 31 and 9 or something in that contest. These are documented picks. I mean, this is the old thing from Proline. We have documented picks here.
Yes, I keep track as best as I can. I know if you guys have them on and I'm not with you, we don't track those. But it was only like a week or so. I don't even know what you did, Degenerate, Friday-wise when I wasn't here. So I'm
not sure what we did. I don't even remember you not being here. That's the sad part.
Whenever I've been here, those are the plays, and I keep track of all of them. Yeah.
All right. We have the great Mark Lawrence coming up next, World Championship handicapper. Always with underdogs, and he's 14, 11, and 1 on the season. Was 2 and 2 last week. Was hot in the college game and a little cold on the pros. But he's making some bold steps. I'm going to say that Mark Lawrence is all over this Jaguars team this week.
Probably.
I want to make a side bet that'll be one of his picks. And I don't know. We haven't spoken to him about it. We don't prompt him on what he's going to play here on the show. We kind of enjoy the unveiling, much like it happens for you guys. I'm going to say he goes Jags home dog +3 over San Francisco. He's going to fade the 49ers, who continue to fade. Is that a leaking oil theory? They are leaking oil. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a bad fire that they're lighting right now. All right, we're coming back. Mark Lawrence going to join us here, World Championship handicapper from PlaybookSports.com. And then, of course, the professor with some college plays. I don't know if he's going to pick that Michigan-Penn State game. I haven't seen anybody that likes Penn State in that game. Have you?
Well, Penn State's
come across anybody?
They're That's the problem with Penn State. Their offense is so they play other teams that have talent. It feels like they're going to be overmatched.
Crushed like a grape. Okay, Mark Lawrence coming up next in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It is 8:24.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
All right. Tell me you had it, Mark Lawrence. Tell me you had the ultimate parlay, money line parlay, Jets, Bengals. Both teams had to be, 10-1 money line. It hasn't happened since 1973. I think you're probably well aware of that two double-digit underdogs have won straight up in the National Football League. So we're talking about 47 years of history that was erased with this double whammy that took place against the chalk. And many people got buried on that. Tell me you had it. Tell me you had a little taste on the money line Jets-Bengals parlay.
I tell you this, that if I had played the Jets and the Bengals on a money line parlay, I would be the lead speaker at a Gamblers Anonymous meeting.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
My name is Mark Lawrence. Playbooksports.com, and I've been a degenerate. No, I mean, no, this guy's a first-class individual all the way through, and way ahead of his time with the numerology. Mark, have you been contacted by the Yankees yet to try and apply some of your mathematical systems to their analytics department? Because they could use a guy like you with your statistical database. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing terrific, Defo. I don't know if I could work for the Steinbrenners, but
apparently anybody can. If Cashman and Boone still have a job.
It's different era.
It isn't George firing Billy Martin from the grave anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's all good. All right, we have you on the winning side this season, so that's great. You're giving out nothing but bombs here on the show. We do have a side bet. I don't know if you caught if you were on hold while Lubie and I were discussing a little Mark Lawrence side action, but we do have a side bet as to what one of your picks will be today in the pros. I just saw a game and it had ML written all over it, playbooksports.com, but I'm not sure if that's going to be one of your plays. And you've been telling us about the over-under tip sheet. Do you just pick under in every game now in the NFL? Is that the way to go? Because
Yeah.
the under players were always viewed as kind of like the don't players at a craps table, where the guy shows up, everybody's on a roll, we're all high fiving each other. You got babes, grabbing money out of your shoe, and you don't even care, and you're just raking in the chips. And then the guy comes there and he puts 2,000 on the don't, and boom, there it is, 7 out, and everybody curses the guy out. But the under players, they always have to hope that just some miracle doesn't happen towards the end of the game and there's an explosion of points, which there sometimes is. But do you have a stat on that? I mean, what's the number on over-under so far this year? We were just talking with the Greek, and the book's getting crushed on the unders.
Well, they're getting crushed to the point, Defo, where they've made a lot of adjustments. They have been forced to make a lot of adjustments. In fact, on this week's NFL football card, there is not one game that has an over-under total of 50 or higher.
Wow.
In fact, there are, I believe, either 4 or 6, I can't remember which, games have totals of less than 40. So they've really had to scramble and make the adjustments with overs and unders. And the problem with people playing the overs and unders is a lot of the Joe Squares will love to bet the overs because as you're watching the game, you can cash your ticket while the game is going on.
Yeah.
You bet an under, you've got to live through the whole thing. It's never under.
The whole dreadful thing. And it's not under till it's over, literally.
Exactly right. So, it's hard to play unders. if you're impatient, if you're the kind of guy that can't wait for that Pop-Tart to pop out of the toaster, you got to
Yeah.
sit through the whole ordeal. And but nonetheless, that's the way it's gone with the NFL over under total. And a lot of that reason is because of what's going on with the quarterback situation in the National Football League. You're going to see this week, Tommy DeVito is going to be starting for the New York Giants.
The former Syracuse great.
Not Danny DeVito, Tommy DeVito.
May as well be Danny, right?
Yes. He's going to be the 10th rookie starter to start a game in the National Football League this year. You got to go back to 1950 to find that last time that's happened. So a lot of that is attributed to poor play by the quarterbacks. You got quarterbacks that are inexperienced. And the truth of the matter is those backup quarterbacks, they don't get a lot of practice time. It's always the starters that are, practicing during the week, and the backups are now being called in off the bench, rusty and inexperienced. So a lot of that's attributing to these low scores in the National Football League this year.
And we all thought the unders were going to be in serious play in the college football season until adjustments were made because of the rule changes about the first down and not stopping the clock. Has that held up through the season in the college football season? Are unders also prevailing there?
I don't follow that as closely as I do perhaps the NFL, because we do publish that NFL totals tip sheet. And, I couldn't speculate. I really in truth don't know whether or not the college football games have gone under because of the rule changes. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happened because, they make changes for reasons. And, if they squeeze the juice out of the lemon continuously, it's eventually going to dry up. And we're seeing that on the scoreboard of the National Football League.
At 72, I know that feeling well, Mark Lawrence. It's an apt description of my sex life. All right, let's get to some plays. We want to make some money here on a Degenerate Friday. Mark Lawrence, professional and world championship handicapper, playbooksports.com. What do you have for us this week?
Well, we're going to use a phrase this week that our good friend George Costanza probably said in an episode or two of Seinfeld at some point during the Seinfeld era. And it's spillage. And we've got, again, a lot of spillage on the pro and football cards this week. And spillage, as you know, is oil. These teams are leaking oil at a rapid rate. We talked about it last week. It happens again this week. And, that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's working real well, fading these teams that are just getting beat like a pulp each and every week in the yardage. And yet they want to continue to come making them as favorites. And we're going to have on this week's college football card 5 leaking oil favorites. We're going to target 2 of them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 2 of them on the show this week. The first, we're going to go to Wake Forest and take 2 points against NC State. And this is a Wake Forest team that, first of all, they're sitting there at 4-5. They need 2 wins in their last 3 football games to become bowl eligible. And you can look up and down the card this week, and you'll find a good handful of teams. In fact, we've called those teams out in the Playbook newsletter this week. Of all the teams that are playing that have 4 wins, are going to need 2 wins in their last 3 games. You're going to get really, really strong efforts from these teams. This is Wake Forest, one of those teams, and you're going to fade NC State here, who beat Miami of Florida last week, picked up their 6th bowl eligible win in doing so last week. And looking inside the game, I mean, they beat them 20-6, and they only put up 214 yards of offense at NC State. I think this is an ideal spot for Wake Forest to upend NC State and continue that trek to become bowl eligible. Wake Forest plus the 2.
All right, I got Wake plus 2 points. What else on the college slate, Mark Lawrence?
We're going to go out west, southwest. We're going to go to New Mexico State, Las Cruces, New Mexico, and we're going to take 4.5 points with one of our favorite coaches, Jerry Kill. We can do a lot with his name, obviously, when it comes to writing up football games. And he's done a great job with the Aggies since he's taken over the program. They were a nondescript program, just about ready to close the doors. And he comes in and resurrects the program. He's had them bowling now. They're already a 7-win bowl eligible team again this year. But what I like about the game is 2 things. Number one, Western Kentucky, their opponent, is, again, spillage, leaking oil. They've been out-yarded their last 3 football games. Number 2, you've got New Mexico State runs the ball for 6 yards a carry, and Western Kentucky gives it up for 5 yards a carry. That's a 6-by-5. you very rarely find 5x5 running dogs. And here we've got a 6x5 running dog who has, by the way, the better offense and the better defense, and they're taking 4.5 points. They check all the boxes of what we look for, statistically at least, going into the football game. Give me New Mexico State plus the 4.5.
All right, Wake Forest plus 2, New Mexico State plus 4.5. Let's turn to the pros with Mark Lawrence at PlaybookSports.com.
More spillage, Defo. More spillage in the National Football League as well.
Yes, sir.
We're going to play against a team that, if the EPA had anything to do with the National Football League, this team would be rendered the largest fine in history of the EPA, of the Oil Pollution Act, and that would be, we're going to fade the Pittsburgh Steelers this week.
Oh, the Steelers! I thought you were going to pick our game here. Okay, Pittsburgh.
Despite being 5-3 this year, they've been outgained every football game. They've lost the stats in all 8 games they played thus far this football season here. Yet they're laying 3.5 points against the Green Bay Packers, who aren't much. I'll agree to that. But the fact of the matter is they come every game and they play hard every football game. Now you got the Steelers here feeling mighty good about themselves. Every team in that AFC North is 5-3 or better this year, Pittsburgh being one of them. And soon to be, I think, out of that race sooner than later. I think they'll end up being the last place team in that division by season's end. But nonetheless, Green Bay plus the 3.5 will fade the Pittsburgh Steelers and fine them for being as ugly as they are when it comes to oil spillage.
All right, we're going to see if Lubie and I cash on this one. Your final pick in the pros.
You want to tell me who it was you were thinking, or
no,
you want to?
No, we don't want to.
No. We want to see if we got.
Reveal your.
I mean, they're leaking oil like no other team.
I'm not trying to change your mind.
Yes.
We're not trying to mess with the
I don't think we're going to be on the same page here.
On the Defo Show.
This team is just a sieve right now. I mean, they have so many holes in them.
They're leaking as
and favored on the road.
Go on, Mark.
Well, that's not a good combination. A sieve and the road. They were a good combination.
What do you have?
Well, I'm going to go a different direction here. I'm going to use Tennessee and take a point against Tampa Bay.
All right.
The Bucks are on a 4-game losing streak, and they've also been out-yarded each of their 4 football games in a row since the bye week. Tennessee made the change to Will Levis, and they look like a completely enthused football team. Yes, he does. He looks like a National Football League quarterback, which we don't see a lot of this year, at least from backup standpoints. And you've also got in Tennessee better offense, better defense. You better take the points. We'll take the point with Tennessee as our second play.
I like that one. Yeah, Will Levis was impressive last week. I watched some of that game. I was one of the few offerings on TV. And I was looking at Will Levis and thinking, why would anybody ever reinsert Ryan Tannehill into the lineup? And sure enough, coach came to the same conclusion and said, "That's it, Ryan. You're gone. Go find Adam Gase and see if he can't straighten you out." Excellent stuff. How do people get the information from?
No, the Jags.
You were going to give me
are getting points.
We were going to give you the Jags over the 49ers. They're getting points at home.
A questionable Niners team now.
Yeah.
Well, it is a questionable Niners team, but questionable to the point where I respect them enough where I believe that they're going to win this football game. It's a step-up game for Jacksonville, if you will. They have to prove that they're as good as the big boys here. And here's the other stat that scares the heck out of me is Jacksonville is 1-16 against the NFC West. I don't want to take a team out that gets beat like a pulp that way. So, but nonetheless, I see where you guys.
Well, we overlooked that factor in thinking it would go in this direction. Of course,
all right, Mark,
that's why you're Mark Lawrence, and that's why we're here. Thinking that maybe we can go scratch Robert De Niro's back and make a little score by doing that. Thanks so much, Mark. Always a pleasure. Mark Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, PlaybookSports.com. Look at this guy, man. He looks coming in loud and clear here. Well, we don't know if he's coming in loud and clear, but he certainly looks good. The professor, ladies and gentlemen.
Heard noise.
Has there been an upgrade in equipment? Is that my understanding?
A little bit, yeah.
Wow, and you got a lighting director in there. This is fantastic. Really.
I mean, I don't really think it's fantastic. It's way too bright in here. I'm kind of going blind.
Well, now people know what you look like. You've been kind of.
That's not really a great thing for the audience either, but
It was almost like we were using a voice shredder or some kind of fuzz to cover up the identity of the person that was talking before. But this is great. Congratulations on that. what prompted that? Just desire to continue to improve?
No,
the show?
apparently I pressed a freaking button on my computer and it disabled my webcam. But I've looked all over my laptop and I can't find wherever the turn the laptop button, I mean, the webcam button is. So I'm guessing it's some combination of buttons that, like, I got when my dog knows the keyboard, or I
Yeah.
dropped the phone on the keyboard. I can't figure it out, so I had to go buy a webcam.
Looks beautiful, Professor. All right, let's get into some things. How'd you make out last week? We have you tracking it now, even though you sort of been, I mean, by your standards,
2
might
and
have been in a
2
bit of
on
a
the
slump.
show last week.
Yeah,
I
12.
Overall, we picked a
I
couple.
gave you a push in the Texas game.
Lubie gave you a push. He
I'm
went to the
really
Jewish
liberal
channel
in
and got
I
a
am a
different
Okay,
Texas
line.
2-1-1 on the show.
Yeah.
Then
12, 13, and 1 overall, which, you know, I mean,
I believe
considering.
the last I tracked it, we're minus 8 units on the season, which is not great. In fact,
I'm
it's very poor.
liberal. Again, I'm liberal. So you're not.
Yeah.
You're 12, 13, and 1.
Well, we have you at 12, 13, and 1. Lubie threw in a couple of victories.
Okay,
No, I always.
we'll take them. It's a total lie, but
I
whatever.
go with the spread. That's most.
I'm not great, Defo.
He had Stu
because
Feiner
I
at
wake up
32
this
and 1.
morning-
Yes.
I wake up this morning and all anybody in America is talking about is goddamn Caitlin Clark. And I am
Yes.
so sick of this chucker girl from Iowa throwing up shots in half court and everybody loving it so much.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Stop making me watch this.
Tim Sarney's going to take exception with that.
Sarney wasn't
The
texting
first
you
thing he
relentless.
texted me is, "You're going to lead with Caitlin Clark."
No,
was
I'm not going to
relentless.
leave with Clayton Clark. I don't want
I
nothing to
thought
do
maybe
with
she
it.
won like a country music award. I don't know who the hell is Caitlin Clark. I'm thinking. Then I realized, oh yeah, it's
It's
the
the Iowa
chick
chucker
basketball
girl
player.
from last year who, like everybody in America, turned racist after she lost to the black girl from LSU.
Yes.
Like every women's basketball fan went and burned a cross on this poor black girl from LSU's lawn because she dared to beat the Iowa chucker girl that everybody in America loves.
And
in
made fun of
NCAA
the
final. Which
taunting
honestly
move that Caitlin Clark always uses.
now makes me the biggest LSU women's basketball fan on the planet.
I mean, you talk about a relationship that is complicated to track. This Kim Mulkey, which I don't want to imply anything negative, but
Who is
nobody
it?
can figure out what the hell she's doing. They have her being married, not married.
Who is Kim Mulkey?
The
She was the
LSU
coach
coach.
at
Yeah.
Baylor. Now she's LSU. Remember, LSU paid her a crap load of money to leave Baylor.
And she's
It was-
kind of a character.
Okay, she was Brittany Griner's Baylor coach. Okay, now
Yes.
and she's a
yes,
weirdo
yes.
Republican. Yeah,
Very strange cat.
I'm not a fan.
Or she's weird. Yeah, she's weird.
All right. The Caitlin Clark thing aside, I mean, how have you been feeling about the college football slate coming up this week?
It's an exciting week. We got a lot of things going on in terms of big matchups. Obviously, plus it's one of those nice ones where it goes like 12 to 3:30 to the night games, where you get good plays and good games at every slot. And I think most of the country talking about Michigan and Penn State. We're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes here, but in a matchup, people are excited, and I am excited. Not as excited as I was last week, but we are all excited to see how this whole Jim Harbaugh's a dirty cheater thing play out versus Penn State, who, much in the theme of the school, has now accepted getting assaulted in the showers by every top 10 team they play. Like, it's a very interesting thing to me. James Franklin is about as competitive as a 12-year-old during Jerry Sandusky's coaching session when it comes to these big games. And Penn State, despite the fact that he's like the third highest coach in the country, hasn't even put him on the hot seat. They're like, okay, as long as we slam Rutgers, we don't really care.
There you go.
So, honestly, and in Franklin's case, I do have to wonder if it's a little bit about the gambling, because clearly he runs up scores and covers. So I generally do wonder if part of the acceptance of, okay, we're going to be, the team that gets victimized against every good team we play, but we're going to cover against everybody else. If Penn State is like, okay, that's the best we can hope for.
If you're running O.J. McDuffie, the former Penn State star and, of course, a great Miami Dolphin player, do not question Franklin. Just say, hey, O.J., how's it going?
I'm not questioning him. I think there's absolutely no question he's going to lose to every top 10 team he plays. And he's usually going to get blown out. There's nothing to question.
Yeah, we asked a follow-up with OJ about the whole Franklin thing and the inability to come through in those spots, and he nearly hung up the phone on us.
And then
Actually, he was on video. He almost walked off.
Speaking of defensive,
Yeah.
mentioning last night to Lubie that Norvell now is doing the Belichick, where like he just lists all his players as questionable or
But he's
probable
not.
or
It
whatever.
was 5
And,
guys
and
that didn't
see, and
play.
this is Lubie's reaction.
That's
There
not
you go.
defensive.
Yeah.
Lubie
Guys don't play.
Lubie
But
gets-
that's not defensive. If 5 guys don't play and the next week they're questionable, like
he's
doesn't that make
literally
sense?
got every wide receiver on the roster listed as questionable.
They didn't
for
play.
See?
Those 5 didn't play last week. Like no, but that like they did. If he does it for 7 weeks in a row, like Belichick does for an entire season with Brady, like they didn't play last week and they're questionable. They are questionable. Like they didn't practice the first 2 days. You get that, right? Like Wilson, Coleman, Williams, Poitier, Span did not practice half this week.
Did I tell you,
They are
Defo? Did I
Oh,
did I call that?
no, you don't want to make
Wrong,
any
though.
assertions about.
Wrong.
It's interesting that Lubie would be the ultimate Norvell defender now. Because
I don't think
remember
we're-
how he was
honestly, I
just
think-
screaming
I
an
think-
alarm when he
I
got
will
named the
say
head coach.
I have been dead wrong about Mike Norvell, and I was dead wrong about Jordan Travis. Honestly, I think both have actually exceeded what even Lubie's expectations were a couple of years ago. So Florida State has done a fantastic job.
Yes.
I just don't like this whole like I'm going to be completely dishonest about what my player's status is going in because I'm trying to fool Mario Cristobal. You know what you need to fool Mario Cristobal? Like a roll of shiny tinfoil, so you can make him look and distract him with shiny things. Like just get some. You want to distract Mario Cristobal? Just get some tinsel. You don't really need to fake the rosters and try to fool
No.
the gambling community. You
I
know,
would agree
not
with you
that
on that.
advanced to science to get over on Mario Cristobal.
All right. What do you have for
And
college
then
plays?
at night, of course, we've got once again another couple. I guess they're Pac-12 showdowns as Utah goes to Washington and Oregon faces USC. But I don't know if either one of those are as tough or as big a matchups as we might have thought 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then what am I forgetting? There's a big one in the SEC, right? Oh, yeah, the fake
LSU
top
US.
10. The fake top 10 game that's not really a top 10 game. Ole Miss goes to Georgia. But I don't know that anybody believes Ole Miss is anything but a fraud at number 9. And, honestly, Lane Kiffin is kind of white James Franklin. Like, he looks great hanging 40 and blowing out Vanderbilt. But get him in a matchup with a top 10 game, and he seems to Lane Kiffin like his brain. I got to go for it on 4th and 8. Got to go for it on 4th and 8. Got to go for it on 4th and 8. Like, little Rain Man-ish, I guess,
Yeah.
hitting 17 against a 7, that's Lane has to lane a little bit. So I don't know that either one of those is actually as big a matchup as we're looking at.
Very good. All right. What are the selections here? Because we want to get to the big board as well.
Okay, starters, we're taking a Mountain West showdown this week. Wyoming and UNLV. UNLV lost a couple weeks ago to Fresno State to fall into second place in the conference. Playing Wyoming, who's in third place in the conference. So we're basically in a game here for the Mountain West championship game, the second place spot. I like Wyoming plus the 5.5. I'm not sure about them straight up, but 5.5 is too many points against the UNLV team that has played a bunch of close games. They've shown a knack for winning those close games, but I expect a one-score game either way here. So at 5.5, give me Wyoming with the Friday night action. As we discussed, unless you're Ryan Day and you have successfully hacked the Michigan computer system, which, by the way, best conclusion of the whole Big Ten scandal is Jim Harbaugh gets fired and Ryan Day goes to federal prison, just like that Cardinal scout from a few years ago who hacked the Astros. That would be the perfect conclusion. Michigan land 4, Penn State. If you watch the Penn State-Ohio State game, no reason to suspect Penn State's going to play anywhere close in this game. If you want to lean on defense, sure, I can buy that, maybe a close game. But we saw that Penn State offense not only inept, scared of their own quarterback against a quality defense, and Michigan's front 7 probably better than Ohio State's front 7 coming into this game. So Michigan, -4 at noon. Personally not going to play it, but because I know Sarney and others have asked. If you're into the Miami-Florida State game, at 14, I don't know how you cannot take Florida State in this spot. Miami physically beat up for the last few weeks, especially at the quarterback spot. And again, not trying to get Lubie rolling again, but Norvell probably lying about his wide receivers.
Oh, they're going to play.
They're
No,
probably going to play in this spot. Florida
They're playing.
State's offense has looked a little inept the last month or so. Definitely not where it was, but led by that offensive line, still a very solid unit if they have their wide receivers back, which again, I suspect they will. 14 should be a problem for them in that spot. And then at night, another 3:30 game. CJ called out, and I agree with. Oklahoma State coming off a very strong showing at Oklahoma, have made a bunch of substitutions. A quarterback who's like 37 years old and has never started in college except for the last 2 games, tearing it up for Oklahoma State. The running back leading the country in yards per game since he became the starters. Traveling to UCF, only laying 2.5 points against the UCF team that has lost 5 of their last 6. Oklahoma State coming in to this one hot, trying to get one of those top 2 spots in the Big 12 for the Big 12 title game. Looks like a pretty easy spot. And then the one night game we like, and really you could make an argument for a lot of them, but I don't see how USC bounces back off that defensive performance last week, where Washington made them look like a team of 8th grade girls. Have to travel to Oregon. Oregon has done horrible things to USC over the last 20 years, particularly at Oregon. Yeah, 15 in a hook is a lot, but I can make the argument very easily that Oregon's playing the best football in the entire country right now, headed into November. So I have no problem laying 15.5 to Ducks against an inept USC defense. Although I would also say, much like last week when we told you that even though the total was outrageous at 78.5, and USC and Washington combined to cover that in the first half, 75 and a hook looks like a ton in that matchup, but I would not be shocked if Oregon and USC not only go over that number, but go way over that number. I was exaggerating like there was half, but literally last week, 78.5, and they covered it by like the middle of the third quarter. And I wouldn't be surprised with another result like that this week.
I watched portions of that game, and it appeared that there isn't a single play that doesn't work against USC. That you could run the wing T, the Statue of Liberty.
I say that's an
resort to trick
really,
plays.
you can do whatever
Everything
you want.
works. Yeah, everything.
On the positive side, a lot of things USC do work too. I mean, they're actually a pretty multiple offense. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, they protect Williams pretty well. It's a bizarre situation out there.
Yes.
In Los Angeles. Of course, Alex Grinch finally got fired this week. Why it took a year and a half, we have no idea.
They thought he was going to turn it around. They thought Ronnie Lott was going to come back and play some.
Oh, and Sardi keeps asking. He texted me last night. Duke and Arizona play tonight in the college basketball, getting the season underway. Hard to handicap game, obviously, this early in the season. I would say my first instinct, Duke, they're at home. They're only laying 5.5. It was 4.5. It's up to 5.5 today. And they probably just have too much length, particularly in the backcourt, for an Arizona team that is kind of unusually small for a top-ranked team. Arizona, of course, has resorted to bringing in all sorts of Russians and Ukrainians and other people in the world who are at war to play their big spots now. So I would imagine the big Polak, Filipowski, who we're already despising at Duke, will have his way with a group of young and probably underfed war refugees playing the front court for Arizona.
Interesting approach to handicapping that game, but for Sarni, we will do it.
I mean, no, it's super early in the season. There's only Duke at home, usually pretty reliable out of conference, and again, probably just too much size and length overall for a kind of an unusually small Arizona team.
Filipowski is like the Polish Christian Leitner for you.
He's not quite that. He hasn't gotten quite to that level. He's got to start winning big to get to the Leitner level. That's obviously a component of it with Leitner. But yes, he's white. He plays for Duke. He's just phenomenally dirty.
Yes,
like
everything you despise. Yeah,
I knew I was going to hate this kid from the first game I saw him. And I will already tell you, he's still playing in high school. There is a kid who signed with Duke last week named Cooper Flagg, who I already hate, and I will extra despise. Sorry. You know how I knew I was going to despise this kid? They asked him why he went to Duke, and he said, because Grayson Allen was one of my favorite players.
When you
say that Grayson Allen is one of your favorite players, and that's why you go to Duke, you are just basically begging me to despise.
Disgrace in Ireland. He was one ugly basketball player. I root against him with every emotional fiber I can muster up. All right, the big board this week. It was a smash hit last week and went over real big when you capsulized it and did the audio version on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. What people could hear, they were fascinated by. So we're going to try and reprise
I'm
that on
not
the
sure
show again
that's
today.
good. Yeah.
What people could hear. The way you put it in there.
I'm already making notes to bring this up on the radio show. So let's get into it. The big board for this week.
All right. So we got a lot. Do we want to pull this up, Lubie?
Yeah,
Oh,
have
there
it.
you go. Big board of worst. Hang on here. I got to.
There's a lot going on this week.
Here.
Worst
sports trends. Okay.
Yes, there's a lot of stories we could focus in on, but not really one we want to do a whole big board on. So we're just going to tackle a bunch of stuff and point out how they all fit into the larger trend, because we are in November, so we can start, being lazy and do year-end review stuff, because that always makes for really easy stuff to smash on and don't have to work very hard at it. So that's what we're going to do this week, and we're going to talk about the big board of the worst sports trends of 2023.
Beautiful.
And that takes us to number 5, which is, I hate doing this. I hate being like old white guy who bitches about the kids. It's really not my shtick. But I got it. Huh?
That's for Mayo.
Yeah, exactly. But I got to say, this one really got under my skin a little bit, and that is, and I love this kid, but Caleb Williams, there's no crying in football.
Well, you knew
you don't get to go cry to your mom because you lose a home game. And then when he asked about it, finally makes a statement last night and says, well, I have always been a big mental health advocate, and I want to let everybody know that it's okay to show your emotions and it's okay to cry. No, it's not. It's not okay to be a man and to cry in front of a camera on national television. There's nothing okay about that. You are about to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, and if I were a GM, I'd still draft you first.
Yeah.
But if I see you crying on your mom's shoulder and wearing freaking nail polish every game, I'm going to start to question that number 1 overall pick. I'm not trying to draft a freaking emo kid to be my quarterback for the next decade. I don't want the lead singer of The Cure calling my snaps like they. I think you're a generational talent, Caleb, but some mental things we got to fix. Like, this is much worse than scoring a 4 on a Wonderlic. I can deal with you being stupid, but I can't deal with you crying to mom after you lose a football. What are you, 6?
An emotional basket case, yes.
When I coach 6 and 7-year-olds in flag football, I yell at them for crying during games.
Very nice. All right, Caleb comes in number 5. No crying in football. Disturbing sports trends of 2023.
And that takes us to number 4, which literally Defo's going to hate this, but it's everything about boxing.
Everything.
Tyson Fury comes back to the ring after a couple of years up, and who did he fight? Some MMA fighter I have never freaking heard of.
Right.
I didn't watch a second of it, even the highlights, but from what I read, there's some question about whether he even won the fight. And the Paul brothers, who the hell? Like, that was the big boxing announcement of the week, is that Jake Paul's going to fight a real boxer for his next fight. Who the hell cares? Is it just we pick random people off of YouTube and have them jump in a boxing ring, and that's what the sport of boxing is now? Like, honestly, these people aren't even celebrities. Let's get real celebrities. You want me to pay for a pay-per-view boxing fight? Put Ben Affleck in the ring and Mike Tyson, and I'll pay for it. If we're going to do this celebrity boxing bullshit, let's at least have it be real celebrities versus real boxers, not YouTubers fighting YouTubers. Who the hell cares? How is that a sport?
You would love Marky Mark.
Yes, there you go. Put Marky Mark in the ring with Marvelous Marvin Hagler so he can get the hell beaten out. Put him in the ring with Ray Boo Boo Mancini so there's a decent chance he'll actually die. And then I'll pay for the...
Remember when, what was it? Was it Danny Bonaducci knocked out Screech at the Ocean Manor Hotel, Tiki Bar, when we were doing, and the gloves for the celebrity boxing were,
and honestly,
I'd have to say, a bit exaggerated.
I'd still rather watch Screech fight than these goddamn YouTubers, because at least Screech was a legitimate celebrity. Someone who was on television for like 15 years.
Yeah.
I I'm sorry, I know you love it, Defo, but everything about the sport, and really, we can let's call it like it is. Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor ruined boxing. Like boxing will
100%
never be the
Defo,
same
like
after
you
It
those
was
two.
the beginning of
They
the end.
destroyed the sport and
Yeah,
deserve
the
all
other
the blame for it.
I would say that ugly trend that you're talking about here, which unfortunately gets all the headlines with regard to the sport, even though there are some really good matches and very, very talented fighters. But yeah, that was it. McGregor. When Mayweather was getting Taco Bell in the corner between rounds 3 and 4, and Floyd wasn't even cursing. Floyd
Delivered by a
Sr.
stripper, no less.
He's getting a blowjob in the corner instead of being worked on by a cut man.
And look, honestly, I understand how it works physically, but when we went to like these 7-foot pituitary freaks are all that dominate the heavyweight division, and I get it.
Yeah.
When you have the reach of a gorilla, and you can just slap at dudes from the other side of the ring, you're not going to lose many fights. I get it. But it made heavyweight boxing unwatchable. Like, let's get back to guys people actually want to watch fight.
All right, that's number 4.
Number 3.
Disturbing
and
trend.
Lubie and I actually spent way too much time on this the other night, thanks to ESPN. And it is not just pickleball, but goddamn celebrity pickleball.
We actually watched this. Yeah, we were like,
Lubie and I watched this, and I don't know if you've seen this clip, but the number 1 pickleball player in the world got fucking dominated in a celebrity good pickleball match by Scotty Scheffler, which I don't think this gets talked about enough. Scotty Scheffler is the worst 27-year-old in the history of goddamn 27-year-olds. Like, Tiger was buying Ferraris and nailing strippers and marrying members of the Swedish bikini team and buying yachts. Scotty Scheffler goes and plays celebrity pickleball at 27 years old. You are the worst goddamn rich and famous 27-year-old in the history of 27-year-olds. You do the Masters dinner, and it looks like the goddamn menu from a food court. You spend your free time playing celebrity pickleball. You are the worst. You might as well be, like we call you the dentist, you might as well actually be a goddamn dentist. Like, you are just awful. As 27-year-olds go, like, we're trying to live vicariously through you, Scotty, and your idea of a big time is more boring than the average 65-year-old. You're literally the dude who's like 74 years old in Pompano at 9 o'clock in the morning with a 2-hour wait on the goddamn pickleball court. You are so boring and dull. You suck so much. Everything about you. Not just the gambling lines, which is where originally we got angry at you. Not just, I do the weirdo Christian athlete answers for every goddamn question. No, even your free time, what do? I play celebrity pickleball. And if a goddamn golfer can go out and just dominate the number 1 guy in the world randomly, your sport is shit, right?
The ball doesn't even bounce. It's a joke.
Like if Scotty Scheffler goes out and plays one-on-one with Jimmy Butler's going to beat him 11-0 with 11 dunks on Scotty Scheffler's head. If Scotty Scheffler goes out and tries to pass rush 11 times against Teron Armstead, Teron Armstead's going to break his goddamn neck on like the 5th time. And
but
Scotty
Scheffler
goes out and tries to play ice hockey against whoever the number 1 ice hockey player in the world. He's going to fall down and break all his teeth. But no, he goes out and plays pickleball against the number 1 pickleball player in the world, and he dominates him. They had like a 10-hit rally that finished off Scotty Scheffler smashing the ball down his throat. Your sport sucks, pickleball. And this is the ultimate proof. Not only can an athlete from another sport come in and dominate, it's a goddamn golfer. So 2 lessons here. Really 2 things in this slide. Number 1, pickleball sucks. And number 2, Scotty Scheffler. Everything about this man's personality. Worst 27-year-old professional athlete in the history of 27-year-old professional athletes.
Not exactly Mr. Excitement. All right, that's number 3, pickleball, and very appropriate. If that's only number 3 on the list, I can't wait for the rest of the unveilings here. Number 2.
Number 2.
Belichick.
I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here. But I've been doing the Defo show a long time, and I've been trying to warn people about this 4 years. Every time an NFL team hires one of these douchebags, I come on air and I rant and rave about it. And even when it was our own Miami Dolphins, I try to warn you, and you people never freaking learn. So now, not only has McDaniels ruined another franchise, been fired, what happens? Every player on the team has spent the last week talking about what a douchebag he is. Every player on the other team can't stop talking about how glad they are this guy has been fired.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Flores down here, the minute he gets fired, Tua turns into the top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
Josh McDaniels, how many chances are we going to give this man to ruin franchises? Went to Denver when they were a Super Bowl contender, drove them into the ground, and the minute they left, became a Super Bowl contender again.
And
yes,
goes to the Raiders, gets rid of his quarterback, brings in an even worse quarterback who still hates him, brings in Devontae Adams, who's ready to quit football and just do Taco Bell commercials 24 hours a day, rather than deal with this man.
Yes.
Max Crosby, I don't know if you saw the video clip, is now just smoking weed on television because he's so stressed out from having to deal with this man. His choices are go back to alcohol, which destroyed his life, start smoking weed to relax, or deal with Josh McDaniels. I've been trying to warn you people, this is all a plot. Belichick has been doing this for years. He sends his assistants out to ruin franchises, and you jackasses keep hiring these people.
A lot of evidence on the table there to support your premise. Belichick assistants, the tree not exactly flourishing. The leaves have gone brown, and they're
no. That's the thing. They've done exactly what they were there to do.
Yeah, I mean, under your theory,
full of big ripe fruits. This is all a Manchurian coach plot. It has been going on for years. We've been trying to warn you about it. We told you. You remember what we said about Brian Flores?
Yes, you said
that he was a plant to ruin the Dolphins.
We said that no, more specific than that. We said that Belichick knew Tua was going to be the quarterback who took the Patriots down in the AFC East, and he sent Flores here to destroy Tua. That's exactly what we said.
You did say that exactly.
This pretty much, as absurd as it may have seemed at the time, yes, it may have come to pass.
He's now 6-0 versus.
All right, number one on the big board of disturbing sports trends of 2023.
And, it came roaring back this week with a lot of examples, but obviously one of the big events for us here at the big board was the restart of college basketball. And we love college basketball, but it does lead to one bad trend that we are seeing more and more of in 2023. And I'm going to be honest, you know me, Defo. There is nothing I hate more than a mascot. There is nothing I hate. I love more than seeing Conor McGregor cave Bernie's face in because Bernie's been asking for it years. But even worse than mascots, Defo, and it's number one, the worst sports trend of 2023, unofficial mascots.
Sister Jean.
Whether it's Sister Jean, whether it's this poor little crippled kid that Mayo has been bagging on for 10 consecutive days.
I hate him so much.
Any of these people who somehow become mascots, despite the fact that they're not actually the mascot, they're all just so freaking annoying. Of course, we said before, the worst of them is the celebrity mascot, like when Lil Wayne used to be randomly in the front row of every Heat game back during the LeBron days, or DJ Khaled.
He's there every game now.
Yeah. Again, even worse than official mascots, unofficial mascots.
Yes.
Led, of course, by Sister Jean, who will never die.
What is she, like $1.08?
I think it's 103.
103? Nice.
All of these people, I don't want to see them ever again. I mean, honestly, and we can go back to talking about starting. It kind of started with the Duke jackasses who, I have no life. And there's no attractive women here, so I'm going to camp out for 48 hours for Duke basketball game.
Does seem like a waste of good college freedom time.
So, going to a party and getting drunk at Duke isn't any fun anyway. So we'd rather stay and have them buy us Domino's pizza for 48 hours before a big Duke home game. That Cameron crazy, who haven't been actually crazy in like 45 years, but they still call it that. That's why, like the unofficial mascot of Duke is, It's Ken freaking Jeong. It's a geeky Chinese guy who went to Duke to be a doctor, and that's why they bring him for every. He's like the unofficial mascot of Duke at this point, which honestly makes perfect sense. Brainy 5'3" Asian kid with a 4.8 GPA is actually the perfect unofficial mascot for Duke basketball.
We still haven't completed our research as to whether or not Sister Jean owned a brothel at one time in Las Vegas before she became famous as the symbol of pureness and goodness with Loyola of Chicago at the NCAA tournament.
I mean, well, if you're going to tell me who is actually less asexual, Sister Jean or Ken Jeong at Duke, I would actually pick Sister Jean. Sister Jean looks like she was a goer compared to Ken Jeong in his prime. A dude is a genuine movie star.
Excellent stuff. Are you going to be able to reprise this on the Tony Bruno Sports Network later on today? Because they were,
I can probably
in love
figure
with
out a
you.
way to clean it up a little bit. Maybe.
No, I
We'll
don't think
see.
so. I would go straight with this material. It was all very acceptable.
Okay.
I find.
I
Because
mean,
Tony was having some
I
technical
just called a
issues.
nun a member of the Go team, so I don't know how acceptable it is.
It's not as bad as a hate mail I got sent to Channel 33 when I suggested that some team's defense was tighter than the Virgin Mary. And and the lights went off in the studio.
You did that on TV.
And that was years ago, man. I mean, it was before
Yeah, it was
cancel
years
culture
ago.
really got popular. Otherwise, that would have been it for
I mean,
me.
you gotta love. Damn, that's the team of the big board.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
excellent stuff.
Yeah, all you really got to do is throw a Nazi joke in there, and you could have just done a big board
That
yourself.
probably wouldn't be very popular right now. Yeah, no mention of Brazilian, hideaways. All right,
You don't have to mention Brazil. There's like 3 of them in Congress. Like that's like
Yeah.
like 3 of the squad members are like 3 seconds away from wearing an SS uniform on the floor of Congress.
Well, one of them is second in command to the president now. All right, Professor, what time were you reprising your appearance on the Bruno
I don't know.
Show?
You got to talk to.
Lubie, what do you got?
Told you, it's
Apparently,
35.
whenever the software actually works, so from like 10:45.
Well, we're trying to get you in while it's
10:47.
working. Yeah.
Yeah.
What time, Lubie?
Like 10:35, I
Okay,
said.
perfect.
So both of
We
you
should
just
be
hit
going
that
strong then. That's when Lubie figures everything out.
Darny asked, by the way, and I didn't mention her, and I should. Yes, Taylor Swift is now easily the unofficial Kansas City mascot. They've moved from Brittany Mahomes to Taylor Swift, which really everybody involved in that should be insulted.
It's not better.
Talk to you later, Professor. Thanks so
It
much.
is better, but it's still terrible. There you go.
All right, thanks. The professor, a very
One of the
clear
best.
and identifiable professor today, as opposed to one of those things that you would see if you were watching like 48 Hours and the person didn't want to be identified because they were on the jury and they might, be fearful of reprisal that they were giving this kind of testimony now. All right, we will see you guys later on, 10 o'clock today. Tony Bruno Sports Network. At times it works well, at times it doesn't. And, it's in an experimental stage. They're 2 weeks into it. We really are kind of gearing ourselves mentally that the official launch would be like
what I'm
January 1st of this thing.
I'm focusing on the end of the year. I know you were talking about December.
If we're rolling by January 1st and everything is smoothed out, I'll be thrilled. That would be a
to
part
me,
of
it's the beginning of the
this.
year.
All right.
This part of the year for the rest of the world, I know for us, every day is the same. We just love what we do. This part of the year for the businesses is like a throwaway. Like after next week, the year's over.
Oh, yeah.
business-wise.
No,
Like,
I've already thrown in the towel. What are you talking about, Louis?
usually we still do shows and we give our best. Businesses like literally take December off. Like the whole week of Thanksgiving, they take off. Like
People are
so to
bringing
me,
eggnog to work and spiking it with full
Exactly.
bottles of rum.
We'll do shows. I'm gonna try. I hope it works itself out, but I'm targeting the beginning of the year as the real.
Well, I mean, let's hope so. If it's not working by then I would have a funny
be fine,
feeling that would be the end of it. All right. We will see you later on, 10 o'clock today. Tony Bruno Sports Network. Download the app. Hope that it works. And we'll catch you later on today with a Degenerate Friday version of our show. And thanks so much for tuning in. 1 o'clock today. We'll be out at Gulfstream Park. All right.
the stream.
All right. We'll see you later on as we leave it on that.
The time.
It's 9:14.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.